Alright, hey, how's it going? My name is James. Today I paid $210 for a 1 hour coaching session. I've got my notes here. I thought it would be useful for me and hopefully useful for you if I just ran through all the things that I got out of today's session. Just distilling like an hour's worth of knowledges into a couple minutes. So today's coaching session was for me as a musician about sort of the performance craft aspect of everything, and that also included a lot of robust discussions about sort of energy, purpose, inspiration, alignment, that sort of thing. So it opened up, like we'd already discussed last week that was going to be our goal. Opened up with, how'd you go in your action steps? Yeah, all good, got a rehearsal on Sunday. That's going to happen. She'll be sweet. And then I obviously asked, well, what do you think about, personal performing craft, and what should I endeavour for me to do? What should I endeavour for the band to do? So the first thing on the personal side is a little principle from Neil Strauss in his book, The Game, which I have read, and I was aware of this, but I never thought to incorporate it into actual life, especially now that I'm not sort of looking for a relationship. I'm already in a happy one. But the Neil Strauss principle is, whenever you walk into a room, just before you go through the door, think of something like funny, because it will make you laugh/smile. So as an example, I think of a really crappy joke that one of my friends told in grade 7, but as you can see, it does make me very happy. So, I mean, it works, and that's a nice principle for walking into a room. But anything really that you're doing, there's no reason you can't enjoy yourself while doing it. And even if you're not enjoying yourself, there's no reason you can't look like you're enjoying yourself by just employing like a tiny little hack like that. It's really easy, really simple, and I'm surprised that I haven't been using it, honestly. So it's really good. In terms of the actual music side of things, it was like, think that it's imagine you're putting on a magic show or a dance. You won't get a dancer who's sort of doing the ballet like this. And equally, go and have the magician who says, oh look, the card was in my sleeve all along, see? There's always going to be big flourishes, and there's going to be lots of energy, which for some reason I can do in this dead room in front of a camera, great success, but I can't seem to get myself in that headspace on stage. So thinking of it as a magic show is quite nice, I think. Could be useful. The next one was look above the audience. That's more just like a stagecraft thing, projecting the energy out above is better than projecting the energy down into the floor. Not looking at the instrument, just opening up the body language in general. But also like engaging individuals in a crowd. So, that's a leadership thing as well. And one thing that I say out loud now that I realise it is like so much of this stagecraft is things I already know in different realms, but I just haven't thought to apply it to music. It's like, good public speaking, you use broad gestures. Good magic shows, you use broad gestures, you project with a good tonality, you open up, and you actually engage individual people in the crowd. You look people in the eyes rather than trying to nervously duck away from any and all forms of social interactions like me as a 14-year-old. But following that, we talked about the band sort of choreography, relating it to the dance performance idea, which was basically just whatever you're going to do, practice it. So it's one thing to practice all of the music, that's great, but like the actual performance is an element of the music that most people, self-included, are neglecting, and it's not being addressed, which makes sense. You're a musician, and so you practice the music, but you're also a performer at the same time, and so you can't neglect both of them, which is something that I have been doing historically, but obviously I'm trying to get better with my lack of skills, bros. It's sort of playing it up, owning any flaws that you have, making the flaw a highlight. Doing post-match reviews. So just like after you do it, you talk to people and you say, what did you think? What was a highlight? Did you like this? Did you not like this? How did you guys go? Did you have fun? That kind of thing. So then onto the purpose side of things. A good quote was that Brett, my mentor, said, "We are doing the thing everyone wishes they could do," which he said it and I was like, whoa, and so I wrote it down, obviously. But it's quite insightful across all areas of life. That's what people pay you to do. People pay you to do the things they wish they could do, because they either live vicariously, well, they do necessarily live vicariously through you. You know, it's like, if you're hiring a personal assistant, you are paying them for the privilege of doing the things that you wish you could do on top of your own workload. Like, if you had infinite hours in the day, there's no way that you would pay a PA. That just doesn't make sense. But when you limit the number of hours you have in a day, you know, there's things you wish you could get done conveniently without sacrificing your family. That's why you pay your PA, which I thought was super interesting. Anywho, then there was also things around asking good questions to bring up inspiration, and that inspiration and goals are what make like those deep, real sort of tribe brothers connections. So, you know, it's one thing to ask, hey man, how was your weekend? Which I am a king of doing myself. It's another thing to, you know, before a rehearsal say, all right guys, you know, why are we doing music? Like, what is the point of us all being here gathered collectively? And, you know, one person might be like, yeah, I just want to have fun. Another person might be like, man, music runs in my blood. Another person might be like, I like money, which is totally legitimate. None of those things are wrong or lesser. They're just all different reasons, and it's important to have those discussions where you hash it out. Plus, then within the band, you can also work towards, you know, encouraging and helping out the other teammates. Like, as an example, I do music personally because, you know, I really respect the tradition of it. I find it's a good creative outlet for me. I get to put all of my brain power into the present moment, and it is my main source of income. Those are all legitimate things, but like, you know, if someone didn't know any of that, they just assumed that, I don't know, I was doing it to impress my dad, let's say, who isn't remotely impressed by my love of music. But yeah, if they just assumed that I was doing it to impress my parents or some entity, they would, you know, they might be like, wow, man, yeah, I'm really proud of you. You did so good on this gig. Wow. Oh, your parents must be so proud of you. And it's like, that doesn't resonate with me at all. That does nothing. But then if someone in the band is like, oh, hey, man, I really liked how you played tonight. I could really hear that, like, you were being influenced by insert one of my teachers / mentors / musical idols here. It's like, that is a wholesome, fulfilling compliment. You know, like, there is nothing greater in the world than that, and just, you know, having a good time jamming. So yeah, getting into goals and vision, explaining the meaning of songs, you know, the whole start with why principle. And another thing that I haven't connected yet is that doing that start with why, the reason that you want to start with why, then do the how, then do the what, is because when you start with why, it actually puts you in the right state. So if you start with, here's what I do, yeah, I do music. It's like, it's such a dead statement, it falls on empty ears. If you say, you know, when I was like a kid, I had an amazing mentor in violin and he inspired me to do it because blah, 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 story, very wholesome story about me as a 5-year-old. And then, you know, you arrive at, oh, I'm really jazzed about this. Like, you know, what do you actually do? It's like, oh, well, I put on gigs every now and then. Oh, tell me more. You know, you start with the engagement and the excitement, it puts them in a state, and it's like, once you get the ball rolling, the momentum just carries it down the hill, which is the idea. Yeah, so the reason I am so adamant about why I'm doing the music as well is because my mentor just asked me directly, like, is that resonating with you? And I'm like, heck yeah. And he's like, okay, why do you do the music? And I'm like, you know what? I actually have a succinct answer now because I was in that right frame of mind. It was like, you know, it's one thing when, like, on the first day of uni, everyone's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah, cool. Why's that? And you're like, oh, you know, I just do it, I guess. Like, you know, architecture students and doctors, it's like, why do you want to be a doctor slash lawyer slash architect slash insert job here? Oh, you know, I really like money. Or alternatively, oh, I don't know, I just want, I guess. No one's ever going to be in the state to tell you the honest answer because everyone's new, no one knows each other, what's legal, what's not. You know, once you're in that state of like, okay, this is a safe space, I'm here to learn, I'm also here to learn about myself, I'm going to answer every question, I'm going to, you know, be in that learning and engaged and focused state. It's like, good stuff, just bubble, bubble, bubble. You know, like, as a second year at uni now, I remember having a first year discussion about like, oh, why does music do it for you? And the answer was like, oh, you know, I just, yeah, I play in a worship band at home. And it was like, I don't care about what you do, I care about why you do it. But I didn't have the words to express that exact sentiment. But now it's like, why do you do music? And then anyone will be like, you know, oh, because the tradition of it, or oh, because I have so much fun, or because, oh man, it's like something that I want to get better at, or like, oh, I can't stand the idea of, you know, not learning all of this craft. You know, there's so many reasons to do it. So many of them are legitimate, but they're so hard to unearth when you're not used to an environment, you're not in that state of like, yeah, this is something I enjoy, this is something I love. So then we pivoted out of that. So here's me pivoting. And then we started talking about an email list that I had. I started up an emailing list at the start of the year. It had, I can't remember exactly, in the ballpark of like 35 to 40 emails by the end of it. And it was basically just like my gig guide, which was also serving as just pure self-flagellation / promotion for all of my gigs that I had coming up. So it'd be like, my top pick for gig of the week is me, again, for the 6th week in a row. You're so welcome. And then I'd have, you know, pretty much all of the other gigs that I had access to / that I knew were happening that week at the bottom. And some weeks I'd be like, oh, you know, one of my lecturers is playing. They're way better than I am. I'm insecure about that. They can be the gig of the week, and then I'll just have like my own little write-up underneath. And so last week I discussed with my mentor, I was like, I kind of want to restart it. It makes sense to. And it's like, yeah, for sure, but don't restart it, recreate it. And I was like, cool, what do you reckon? Had another discussion about like the why coming before the content for the rebrand, and sort of when rebranding it, thinking from a perspective of like, how exactly does this benefit you? It's like, you type in your email, you're like, boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, here's my email, here's the immediate benefit. I was thinking along the lines of like some checklist, just, you know, honestly, anything out of the russellbronson.com secrets books, good enough for me. Like, oh, here's your free little checklist, or here's your PDF, or blah, blah, blah. But then, yeah, like after that initial touch, it's like, why do they want to stay signed up? Why does it benefit them? Because it's so easy for me personally to think, oh yeah, this will be really cool because like I'll have 1 million people on there and then they'll all get to see what the good gigs are. It's like, why would 1 million people sign up? And it's like, oh, because I want it to happen. You know, there's like that step missing. Yeah, then we discussed how I could go about talking to venue owners, because